Now, since he's flying to Paris today,
sorry. Since he has to take his flight to Paris, we may not be able to take many questions or answers, but maybe one or two questions, if there are any, or any observations that some of you would like to say. Okay, I think you have never supposed that this thing earlier, so I'm going to take this thing maybe after. Thank you very much. Please keep it brief so that.
There is something, I read an article of Swami Chinmayan, Ahimsa Parno Dharma Himsa Tata Vichar. That is the second part which we are forgetting. That was just an observation which I want to be listening to.
Thank you very much.
Now, as Mr. Gordian had a big reference to Kashmir, I being an ex-soldier, I want to put a question that if we have to forego Kashmir today, we have to forego ourselves. Because once Pakistan enters Kashmir, they are allowed to enter, they will capture whole of India. That means we Hindus will vanish. So, will it not be justified for us to say slab for slab? We did a mistake. We divided our country in 47. So, should we not retaliate now and wage a war against Pakistan under this strategic contest?
I must say that the biggest enemy of India are Indians, not Pakistanis, not Chinese. Speaking about Hindus, there are 80% Hindus in this country, 80%. There are 1 billion Hindus in the world, one of the most prosperous, law-abiding communities in the world. You see in America and UK how well they are doing. Now, how come this 1 billion people's voice is never heard? It's because, I have to say that Hindus have, signed to a level, however much I love them, they've signed to a level of passivity, of selfishness, of not caring for their brothers and sisters, which is pathetic, and today they're paying the price for it. And secondly, the biggest enemies of Hindus are Hindu intellectuals, forget about Muslim or Christian intellectuals. Hindu intellectuals, writers, I have a lot of respect for the Indian Army because I have, in Kashmir, I spent a lot of time with them. I went operations with them in Kashmir. And the values, of courage are still there in the Indian Army. But you know how much they've been attacked today. The government of India is after the army. And how long will the army be able to sustain, this covert, attempt to undermine it? I don't know.
And I think this is the last question, and then I think we'll have.
Yeah, my name is Priyadarsha Datta, and my question is jointly to Mr. Nivedita Bide and to Mr. François Gautier. Do you feel that you said in the West everything is, black and white, but in India there can be, gray and even the shades of gray. But somewhere do you find that there is this vacuousness, there is this obscurity of Indian mind which has often prevented us in taking a objective view of situation. Like in the West, you see always there have been wars, and wars have been followed by peace or treaties. They recite like Peace of Augsburg. These were actually treaties which have taken the public life or political life forward into the next stages. After the First World War, the peace in Paris took place. But in India, the wars had taken place, but no lessons had been learned. Our Hitopadesh might have said about peace treaties, but we have gone to the same mistake again and again. So do you feel that somewhere Indian mind has always worked in a very, not in a very clear and crystal manner, which the Western mind was, and it was like after the partition also, forget about Kashmir, the partition, this was the proposition by Jinnah that partition would take place and that exchange of population would take place. Even Dr. Ambedkar said that in partition without exchange of Hindu-Muslim population is worse than partition. But in Greece and between Turkey, there was exchange of population. So they did not take a sentimental view of things. They took a clear-cut and objective position, which we could not. And that being, and just take a half a minute, I just want to say The biggest interpretation or the biggest emphasis on peace and violence was given in Durga Saptasati, when the king Surat and the trader, his name is Samadhi, they went to the sages, they went to the sages' hermitage. The sage, they find there the hares and the lions playing together. But when the sage, starts describing them, the exploits of Durga, then he describes in such a manner the violence is so much of graphical, that the scenes of war are so graphical, that one wonders that, if such a, that peace and war could coexist in such a way. So that has been our tradition. But somehow, whether this, coexistence or even the Asura and God working together and all those things, this is also given an obscure the Indian mind. West was much more clear cut. It may be black and white, but it was much clear cut. Thank you. I want.
As was rightly observed by him, our intellectuals and the, so to say, the Ashoka's legacy, letter which was compounded by Mahatma Gandhi, is our worst enemy. And that is why that clarity in our own self-interest is not there. Maybe to the credit of our national leaders, we can say this much, that somewhere they felt that partition is temporary. And therefore, if we completely exchange the populations, then it may become permanent. So we should not exchange, so that this temporary phase will be over and India will be one. So maybe their thinking was sincere, but it was impractical, because they had not really understood the enemy or the powers which were behind the partition, and how long and what is their agenda. The exclusive nature of Islamic theology, or the pan-Islamism movement that was working in all the Islamic countries. They ignored all that, and they just took a very limited view, and that is why this exchange of population and all did not take place. As you quoted Durga Saptasati, that's what I was also trying to tell, that as one has expressed as many, the approach can never be unidimensional. It always has to be multidimensional. So, therefore, we all say they are all our gods and goddesses. The truth is everywhere. It is one which has become many. Even the Asura is Ishvara. But at the same time, all our gods and goddesses are with arms and weapons in hands. All of them. So this we have lost sight of. And I think this black and white, what he was referring is that exclusive approach. That he is good, he is bad. This is a clear-cut demarcation, which we never did that. In that sense, I think